Hello, hello, and welcome back to the club. My name is Ashlyn Clark. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm here with my bestie girl, Miss Katie Hoy, at her fabulous house. We
Thank
have
you.
just finished up the backsplash, I noticed, and it looks so slay.
Thank you. We did it ourselves, and it was so easy. Like, I cannot describe the mental, torture that we went through. Like, should we just do it ourselves? And I don't know. We need to watch 100 YouTube video.
Yeah.
So easy.
When you sent me the video and they were all up and you had the little like spacers between them, I was like, this looks like a fucking job. So I'm glad it felt easy whenever you were in the moment.
I cannot describe, if you have those little spacers, it's like smear the stuff, put it in place, put the spacer in, next. Like, literally a 5-year-old
Could do it.
could do it. So, I mean, but we're so proud of ourselves,
It
like,
looks so good. I feel like everything
thank
is
you.
coming together so nicely in here.
We're doing our best, but there's a lot that
A
still
lot
gotta get
left.
done.
Yeah, but
Yes.
you always have a project that's
Mhm.
just who you are as a person.
Yes, it is.
And we already caught up, you guys. We did a full 30 something minute episode about what the fuck we've been up to, which is kind of a lot of nothing, but Katie's been reading. So you can see her updates on our other YouTube video. It also is my birthday. So we discussed the whole weekend of what I have planned for my Golden B Day. Um, and there's no better way to spend it than being on the club and talking shit with my girl.
And that we will do. So,
Wow, not to bury the lead. This is our book review on Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer Armentrout. You should already know that if you already made it to this point. And if you want to dive right in, I'm happy to do that.
yeah, absolutely. So let's get started. We're gonna do author biography, which we have not done in a very long
Right.
time.
The last time we did an autobiography was what, 7 books ago?
Mm, something like that. 5,
8.
6, 8, yeah. For Miss Sarah J, our queen. And so we will do author biography and we'll do book synopsis and then we will just get right in
Yeah.
there.
I do want to, as a preface, this is our first time doing a book that was not Sarah J. Maas or Fourth Wing Iron Flame in a very long time. So expectations were pretty high. We really were looking for something to take the edge off of being out of the SJM universe. And we'll discuss on our thoughts on how we feel about said hangover
Yes.
later.
Yes.
So starting off with the author biography, this is by Jennifer Armentrout. She lives in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. This is all from her website. I did not like Google her deeply. I just copied and pasted. Um, she and her husband have a border jack, which I had to Google, and a border collie Artemis. And they have alpacas, they have goats. It seems like they live on a full farm
Yeah.
in West Virginia. So happy for her trad wife vibes.
I'm actually jealous of
Yeah, I really
that.
want a farm. I don't want the alpacas or the goats, but the land,
Yeah. Give me
I want.
chickens.
Wow, we are so simpatico. Okay, so the other thing that she wrote on here, she was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa in 2015, rare genetic disorder that leads to the breakdown of your retina and eventually results in vision loss, which is really sad. Um, she is educating people on the varying degrees of blindness, and she's obviously still writing now, but she plans to do it as long as she can. But I do think that's really sad and important. But hopefully later down the road, if this becomes an issue and with her vision, she can like talk to someone and
Yeah.
like have them describe it down for her
Yes.
because as we'll talk about, like I really like a lot of her concepts and a lot of her ideas. She's published with a bunch of different publishers. I'm not going to list them all off, but she has 13 book series, 10
I'm sorry.
standalone books, 13
13.
series. So she has over 70 books.
What?
Yeah. So this is Katie's very first any kind of experience with JLA, as we will call her. And I've been here since a long time ago. So when I
Yeah.
very first started reading again, I started with the From Blood and Ash series in 2021, I suppose. And so it could have been 2022 actually. Anyway, somewhere in there. And then at that point, there were 3 books in the series that had been released, and there are now 7 or 8 and 1
What?
coming out. And so she's like constantly writing. So since she has 70 books and they've all come out since 2011. That's whenever her first book came out. So she doesn't sleep. I don't know that she eats. She's constantly just like throwing these books out.
Okay, but if she's doing that, who's looking after the sheep?
It's a great question. Maybe her husband? I don't know. She's best selling in a lot of her books. I don't know if that qualifies you to have like a stay at home husband or not. I'm not really sure about the finances there, but I would assume there's leeway with her husband's schedule because
Wow.
the bitch has to get up, write, maybe eat, and then go to bed. Like she's writing all day.
That is literally psychotic.
Yeah, I knew it was a lot of books because just of what has transpired since I became one of her
Yeah.
fans. Like every time I'm on Instagram, she's releasing a new book. It's crazy. But I didn't realize it was 70. That's insane.
No, that's insane.
Yeah, so 13 series, and a lot of them have like more than 5 books.
Okay. And
Yeah,
10 standalones.
yeah.
So I'm shocked. Like, I didn't read this before. That's so many.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I love, love, love the From Blood and Ash series. I cannot recommend it enough. However, what I do want to say is that I read it before I had any fantasy reading experience. So it was my first foray into that genre. So it was very palatable, very easy to get into the world building, not super crazy. But as we'll talk about, it's not as advanced as some of the other
Yeah.
fantasy books or not as intricately detailed. And there's just like different things about Jennifer Armentrout that I think people who read her books come to expect now.
Yeah.
But if you're just getting into her books, it's something that if you have a lot of experience with fantasy, you might not like them as
Okay,
much.
that actually makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to do the book synopsis, we can dive right in.
Yes, so I'm not good at, like, reading straight from the page of,
You
like,
want me to
what
do
I
it?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
I'm just if trip up on my words, like, seriously, I wasn't, like, good at reading out loud in
That's
class, so
okay.
just, like, cut me some slack. Okay. She lives by her intuition. He feeds on her pleasure. Mind you, that's written in all caps.
That's kinda how you delivered it. It was all caps.
Okay, good. I'm glad the message is coming across. Okay. Long ago, the world was destroyed by gods. Only 9 cities were spared. Separated by vast wilderness teeming with monsters and unimaginable dangers, each city is now ruled by a guardian, royalty who feed on mortal pleasure. Born with an intuition that never fails, Callista knows her talents are of great value to the power hungry of the world, so she lives hidden in a courtesan of the Baron of Archwood. In exchange for his protection, she grants him information. When her intuition leads her to save a traveling prince in dire trouble, the voice inside her blazes with warning and promise. Today he'll bring her joy. One day he'll be her doom. When the Baron takes an like, okay,
Like, babe.
shut the fuck up. When the Baron takes an interest in the traveling prince and the prince takes an interest in
My
Callista,
god.
got it. She becomes the prince's temporary companion, but the city simmers with rebellion, and with knights and monsters at her city gates and a hungry prince in her bed, intuition may not be enough to keep her safe. End scene.
Y'all, okay, so let's talk about how Katie pronounces Callista incorrectly. But I only know that because there was a girl that went to my college named Callista.
Okay, I I'm mad because I've been saying Callista, and I was like, "There's no way it's Callista."
Well,
Like,
she goes by Liz, so I feel like Liz has to be the important
okay, so
syllable.
that's fine. We can say Callista because that's how I've been reading it in my head. It's like I would read it and then I would say like, "No, Callista," and like go back and reread the sentence and pronounce it that way.
Oh, okay. Well, actually we don't know because she wasn't on the list of little like pronunciations.
Pronunciations, which those
We'll
were
talk
so
about.
wrong.
Also, I said this on the last podcast, but like I do have a bit of a cough, and so, like, when my voice was just doing that thing, like, I'm a little raspy, I'm sorry. That was not, like, a bit. Um,
Okay,
the way that this
shut the fuck up.
this synopsis is longer than the book.
Li don't you don't have to we're gonna read the book, you don't have to, like,
One
write it
thing one
twice.
thing I will say is the whole first sentence or 2 sentences was never addressed. The world was destroyed by gods. Not only 9 cities were spared. Okay, when was that brought up?
Yeah.
Separated by vast wilderness, blah, 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 blah. Each city is now ruled by a guardian who feed on moral pleasure. What?
When
Who?
when
What?
maybe we got glimpses of that, but in detail, no, we don't know that. Like,
And we don't read synopses, whatever.
yeah,
So how are we to know?
we wouldn't. 9 cities, I didn't
No,
count. I
me
mean, like,
either. I saw the map. I never looked back at the map because there was no reason to.
she mentioned several places that weren't on the map. So, like, were those one of the 9 cities? Because they're not on the map. So, that is one of my pet peeves when authors will talk about locations that aren't on the map. Like,
Like, where is it?
why did you give me the map? Why did you give me the map? For the 2 main locations? Like, what about the 15 other
Yeah.
locations that you
No,
mentioned? Where are they?
I like opening a book to a very dense map because then I'm like,
Mhm.
no fucking way they can bring something up that I'm not gonna figure out where they are.
Exactly.
Especially when they're like, which this wasn't really a problem in this book, but like whenever they're like walking through the woods, like I need to know what
Uh-huh.
woods? Where are
Uh-huh.
they?
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
It irks me, like and I don't know if everyone does this, when I open a book and it's got the map, I'll be zooming because I'm on my Kindle, like, "Okay, I need to remember that," and mind you, I don't even have a starting point, like, I don't even know where
No,
the main
yeah.
character is at. I try to memorize it, nevertheless, I have to go back literally 60
I
times.
love that you brought this up. My sister is the exact same way. Whenever she first opened Crescent City, I watched her look at that map for 45 minutes, and I was like, "Babe, you're not gonna get anywhere." Like,
That's the thing, like, you have no starting
no
point.
context.
You have no idea where this is gonna lead
So
to.
I'm like, "Map, got it. I'll come back to it if I need it." And then
Mhm.
typically I do come back to it, and then I have a good grasp of why
Yeah,
it's important or where things are.
yeah.
I never went back to this map one time.
Well, I can just tell you, not all the locations are on the map. It is such a pet peeve of mine. That same thing for the Song of the Marked series, not all the locations on the map. It's like, this is
What's
a
the
big map.
point?
It's a big map, really spread out. You had plenty of room to put the text for the
Yeah,
location.
that's how I feel about this map. There's plenty of space for more text.
And there's locations on there that never, ever, ever, ever
Get
get
brought up?
mentioned.
Never brought up? What was it for? What was it for? Sprinkle in the ones as they come in the next books. Whenever I have the next book, put more words as you bring up the places.
Yes, and another thing, like, when you get, like, a map of the, like, I guess what would be the equivalent of, like, the state or the country that the main character's in, but there's stuff overseas, and you don't get the map of the overseas, and then you have to imagine that. Hate. Ge
Yeah,
no ma every location, put it on the map,
put it on the
or
map.
don't give me a map, like, just
Yeah,
let me pretend
that
and
they're
just picture
all
it.
wherever. Yeah. No, 100% agree. This is the most insane book synopsis we have ever read on this podcast. What do you mean today he'll bring her joy, one day he'll be her doom? You don't find that out until literally the last chapter.
Literally the end, and, like, did he bring her joy? Because she was really like, I don't
Not
even
really that
know if
into it.
up until this point, she's truly
She's drawn to him, but she's not, like, in love with him.
not
She's not,
even
like, really even
close.
joyous,
Yeah.
I would say.
No, like, she made this up, like, someone skimmed the
This
book.
is incongruous with what I have just spent the last 2 weeks reading.
100%. 100%. And, like, the traveling prince, like, was he? I just
He was stopping by for sure. I don't know that he's, like, a nomad. Is that the that's what that was
yeah,
kind of
traveling
saying,
prince,
traveling
like,
prince.
he's not, like, on, like, a circuit, like, I don't get it. He's like the Prince of
My
Vitruce,
god.
Not the way you spell it, but
Look, 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 look. This happened okay, so I don't even know if my very first From Blood and Ash I read it on my phone, so I don't know if there actually, I probably can pull it up, if there was a list of pronunciations in it or not, but I do know the 4th book had it.
okay.
So I'm on the 4th book, and I'm getting a list of these pronunciations of these words that she's saying this is how they're supposed to be said, and they don't look anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Prime example, that is vitreous, and you're telling me it's vitrus?
My issue is with the truce. I can say
Vitress?
vitrus,
Yeah.
truce,
There's no E.
and nale,
Nale with 2 A's.
and
Huh?
the nay Cora and nay Seraph. Where's the A at
Oh, they're
the
going nigh.
it's
It's
not,
nigh for
like
me, yeah. That is something I truly don't understand about her, and she also we really just went straight for it. She also does this thing where she uses words that are already present in the English language,
Mhm.
spelled different,
Uh-huh.
spelled totally different.
Mhm.
It kills me. Highborn with an H, a Y and an H, when the opposite is lowborn. It's
Spelled ex
just highborn,
yeah.
spelled normal. So just say that. Dominion, babe?
That was giving it's
What?
giving millennial mom who spells, like, you know, the one, like, Lakin,
In in
Lakyn,
E, yeah.
McCaisley, like, that's what Dominion was it I almost had an aneurysm trying to figure out what the fuck it said, like, sounding it out like I was literally in kindergarten.
So crazy. Okay, here it is, From Blood and Ash. Let's see if it has a list, and I don't think it does, to be honest. But it was available on your Kindle?
Nah. Oh, yeah, on this book,
Okay,
yes.
let's see. No, there's not. So, yeah, you're now on book 5, and you're telling me that something with 2 A's is not a soft A? No, no, you don't get to pick at this point.
No.
You're too far in,
No.
and it was just yeah, it's just I don't know that phonetics is her wheelhouse.
Absolutely not. Just the writing in general, a lot of the words using the word aristo, that's crazy. Like, just say
That one actually
aristocrat.
didn't bother me because she's using the root word correctly.
True.
But
Still
Dominion
hated
doesn't
it.
Dominion? What?
It was so crazy.
So, there's, like you may have noticed this, like, there's a lot of different books that use the word Elysium. Like, there's the Elysian people in Akatar, and there's, like, a do you know what I'm talking about? Elysia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
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 and then there
yeah.
wasn't that in Throne of Glass and something else.
Maybe, I don't know.
But it's a pretty common theme in fantasy for
Uh-huh.
whatever reason. I don't know where it comes from, I probably could Google that,
Yeah.
but it was in her book as well. It was spelled with an I, and instead of, like, a Y, it was S-E-E, Elysium, Iliseeum,
What the
Elysium,
hell?
yeah.
I have so many issues with the choices that she made for the writing of this book. Maybe we should just jump right in and we can get to all of
Sure.
those.
Yeah, so we can just do the character lineup as we usually do. The first main character is Liz, Callista. How do you feel about her?
So, just start off by saying the first 200 pages of this book, I was hate reading it, like,
Yep, same.
hate.
And it's 400, so that's half the book.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't know her. Like, I feel like all of the characters are really surface level. You get her, but this is my biggest thing. The way that it was written, I felt like was almost unfair to the character because I felt like I was reading Jennifer Armentrout's point of view from this and not like a different character. And I just felt like because of the way that she chose to word things and like there's one part she says like okay, like this
Yep.
is a fantasy book.
Yes.
Don't Why did you use the word fuck boy? don't. Like, that is incongruous with fantasy in general, and I know in this book, like, they have electricity, and it's, like, a little bit more advanced, and they hint at, like, the world used to be basically the world that we live in today, like,
Mhm.
they had airplanes, whatever. Still, like, if you're fighting with swords and daggers, please don't use modern lingo, cannot stand it, but I felt like Callista really, like, fell flat for me. I just don't know her. I felt like she repeated stuff a lot, like, when she was describing the sensation that when Thorne walked in the room, it was the same fucking description every
Every
single
single
time.
time. And that's I understand that it was, like, because she wanted us to be able to pick out when he was, like, approaching or whatever, but, like, my god. Describe it a different way once, like, we'll
Yes.
figure it out, and that's how I feel about Callista too. So, as much as I like the idea of her, I don't feel like I know her in any way, and she's the main character. So
Yes,
imagine how we feel about the other
and
characters.
it's a first person point of view, like,
Allegedly, yes.
you like, you are supposed to know her every thought.
Mhm.
It was weird, like, we didn't get her full name until, like, halfway through the book. The way she described herself was so bizarre, like, she pretty
Big,
much
ugly
she
eyes.
was like, "I
What?
look weird," like,
Yeah. She kept describing herself
"Okay."
as, like, not small. Huh? Like, that's not enough description. She was like, "I'm weird looking, I have big eyes, maybe." Did she have brown hair? I can't remember.
She said dark hair, but we didn't get her eye color until she's like, "I looked in the mirror and it looked like I had blue rings around my brown eyes." It's like, "Well, we wouldn't have known regardless because you never told us." So, it was bothering me.
So fucking true, and, like, I felt like for this book to be 400 pages, if I'm reading a romance novel that's 400 pages or not a romance, rom-com, I fall in love with those characters. They are so funny. They have you have so much opportunity to get to know them in that, even
Yes.
though it's short, kind of short relatively, to get to know people. And I understand that there's like some sort of like world building aspect that has to be done with fantasy. That's all great and wonderful, but how do I feel like I don't even know her?
I'll tell you how. Because we spent way too much time with their weird relationship sex scenes, not enough time getting to know literally one character.
Right, that's how I feel. And I was so intrigued by Liz in the beginning.
Mhm.
She has this weird intuition, no one else has it. She's a fucking paramour. How cool is that? Like,
Yeah.
she literally has sex for her job.
Yeah.
You're telling me like this is a great concept, and it takes away all the weird shit about like, oh, this innocent little girl got like fucking railed by this 500-year-old. Like, she takes away all of that. So I was really excited because I was thinking this is gonna end up
Yeah.
way easier to like palette than everything else. And
Yeah.
then we don't even like get to experience any of her life as a paramour. We never get to experience her life as a courtesan.
Yes.
It's just the book starts and that's where the story takes off and you never like learn about her background really except for the one
No.
scene in the
Okay.
priory.
I liked the beginning scene, like the opening
Yeah.
prologue. I liked that, and I was like, "Wow, this is, like, really interesting." And then she would just say, like, "Back when we, like, lived on the streets, it was hard, and, like, I knew what it was like to be hungry," but, like,
We never got
when
to
she
hear
was
any
with,
of
like,
it.
the prioress, you don't actually get an insight into what that was like. You just know it happened, and the lady glamored her. Like, that's literally all that you
It's
know.
totally crazy.
You don't get any backstory, and I'm really with, like, not like, her not finding out her heritage, like, I'm down for that. But you have to leave more hints, like, along the way, and I just felt like she didn't, like, as soon as Claude mentioned that Vane Balin spelling beyond moronic, was Starborn, you're like, "Oh, okay, so she's Starborn." Like,
Yeah, you're like, great,
you
perfect.
just know. Do I understand what Starborn means? No. No, not at all. Like, Maeve or whoever her name is, says it, but she doesn't explain what that means, and then someone is like, "People who were born within the hour that the stars fell." What do you mean when the stars fell? What
What
does that mean?
stars? Which
What does it
stars?
mean? Like, nothing
And
made
it and
sense.
they're like, "Oh, you're immortal made divine." She's like, "Oh, so I'm a Celestia." They're like, "No, you're immortal made divine." And she's like, "What the fuck?"
Then she keeps saying like, "So you think I'm a Celestia?" It's like, "No." Remember, I'm the 3rd person to say it. Like, "No."
You're starborn. And she's feeling the same way we're feeling. What the fuck does it mean? What do you mean? And no one can tell her, and we still don't know to this day.
But she acted like, "Oh, when the stars fell." And we're like,
What stars?
"When did they fall?" Like, what? I just have a lot of questions, and not in a suspenseful kind of way, like in a this wasn't
This
s
wasn't like described.
no.
Yes, that's how I feel about most of the plot.
Yeah.
So I really am just like, I can't say like, oh, I love her, oh, I hate her, whatever. I'm barely even excited about her getting her like weird power surge at the end. But my question is, do you think that she and Thorne accidentally activated their bond somehow because she randomly became like powerful?
Yes, and who is it that's telling her, like who is she talking to that tells her there's, like, a way to activate the bond, but doesn't tell her, like, how to do
The
it?
guy at the end, the
Arian, is that
Lord.
his name?
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking the same thing, like, maybe when they had sex, like, it activated it,
Yeah, because she was like, I lied to him and I didn't even know why.
yeah.
So that's what I think because she just like randomly becomes strong, randomly
Mhm.
becomes like can break down the mental walls.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, the ending is like kind of getting interesting. Maybe I'll read the next book, but honestly, like there are so many things that are just left to my imagination and I hate that.
Yes, not in a good way, not in a, like, "I can't wait for the 2nd book to come out,"
Right.
like
Like it's too late to go back and make these
yes,
things known because
yes,
we have to move forward with the story.
completely agree.
It's so, so weird.
So do you wanna go ahead and move on to
Yeah, since we brought up
Prince
Thorn, we can go ahead
Thorn?
and yeah, bring him up. I'd feel the exact same way about
Mhm.
him because he comes in, they're like attracted to each other, great. She saves him, which I thought again, like a little on the nose.
Mhm.
Same issue that we have with a lot of fantasy stories, but it was cool that her intuition drew her to him
Yeah.
and she saved him, whatever. And I will always, always, always love when a male main character tries to kill the female main character at the
Yeah.
first meeting.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
Mhm.
Where it did go wrong for me was whenever he left and we like still had not like defined the relationship.
Completely agree, and, like, not even close, like, she is still
Confused by him.
but the thing is, like, I don't know that we had that conversation, like, between us and her to, like, is she confused? Because we kinda just, like, didn't really talk about it, like, she's like, "I'm drawn to him," like, "I feel safe with him."
Yeah.
But she's not really having the conversation with you, like, "I'm fighting this internal battle about how my feelings," like, my biggest thing was that I felt like there was not enough buildup between them at all, and I get it, like, they're supposed to be drawn to each other and not really have, like, a reason why, but I still don't like it,
Yeah.
like, in other books, the main characters are drawn to each other, but, like, they literally hate each other, and I'm happy with that.
So this is probably the first one I read in a long time that was not technically enemies to lovers or at least borderline enemies.
Yeah.
Um, she had like a very clear role and it was obvious that they were going to engage in some sort of intimacy, but I didn't really expect them to have sex right away. I didn't mind it. I'm not gonna say that it was like my favorite thing, but I really did not mind that part. I just like it was like where is the actual conversation happening? Where's the content of this quote relationship? Like,
Yes.
why are you so happy to stay in his bed all day? why does he want you to stay in his bed? Like, you guys don't know each other.
And they're not talking about it, like, it's not like either one of them is attempting to bring it up to talk to.
Yeah, no, they're just like, "Well, this is what we have to do because we're
Mhm.
drawn to each other, so."
Yeah, and normally, like, especially with him, because I feel like his personality, and she says that the Dominions are, like, they don't have feelings, like, they act based upon logic. He seems like the type of person that would be straight up, like, just ask her or to have the
Yeah,
conversation if that's what he wanted to do, but he just continues to say, like, "I'm intrigued by you, and, like, I want you to stay here with
yeah.
me."
The thing is, I totally respect that from him, and that's
Yeah.
fine with me. I even put down on here that I like that he's not nice and, like, super
Mhm.
emotional. That was cool to me to
Yeah.
have that as a part of the story, but where was her emotional battle? Where was her, like, "I really like him, I think I'm gonna get hurt," or "I wanna protect myself,"
Mhm.
or "I don't care, and I'd rather go with him than stay here," like, there was nothing. It was just all of a sudden, "He's my highborn." What the fuck are you talking about?
Hated. Hated. It's very wishy-washy. I
Yeah.
felt like at the beginning, I was like, "They have got to spend some time apart." Like, it was literally like day after day after day, they were seeing each other and being with each other, and you get so much of them being together, like, at the beginning, and then I was like, "They've gotta separate." Like, I need some more space in between these meetings. Then at the end, he leaves and she stays there, and that's when you would be like, "I'm gonna go chase him because, like, I need to
Yeah.
get to," and we didn't get that either, so I was, like, not happy either
Either
way.
way, yeah.
Either way, and I don't know, I felt like I wanted things to be a little bit different between them, like, I just felt like it was too much at the beginning, not enough, and I hated that they stayed in the same location literally the entire book, like, we needed
Yes.
to leave.
That's how I felt. This whole book takes place in my mind over the span of, like, 3 days,
Yes.
and there could have been so much more done than that. It could have been
Mhm.
weeks,
Yeah.
and that would have helped me emotionally and mentally develop a relationship with the characters.
Yes.
Even if we just, like, fake saw them, there was just no development. Like
Yes.
you said, surface level as you can get, like, alarmingly so.
Yeah, we don't know any of these characters, that's, like, a theme that will continue on. One thing about him, like, not having really a personality is I couldn't tell if he needed a sense of humor or his, like, lack of social cues, like, was the humor, you
Was
know what I
funny.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was laughing at the end, I don't know, do you watch the Marvel movies?
No.
Okay, Thor is that way, like, he can't pick up on people on Earth's, like, social cues, and so he's always, like, so serious about everything, but that's the
The
humor,
funny, okay.
and I couldn't tell
Maybe?
if she was trying to do that and, like, that was supposed to be funny or if he just actually doesn't have a personality.
Yeah, so I thought some of it was funny that he couldn't really pick up on the cues. However, she is chuggy as a writer, and so the stuff that she thought was funny just pissed me off. So I
Yeah.
was like, "I get where you're trying to make this part funny, but I can't laugh at it because it's so dated."
I have a perfect example. When Bastian keeps calling him Thor and he's like over explains the joke, he's like, "Yeah, he hates it when we call him Thor because his name is really Thorn." I was like,
Yeah, like, we're aware. We're all aware.
"Right."
And there was a couple of things like that when he was like she kept saying, like, "Stop calling me Nale," and he's like, "But it's so fitting. It's so fitting. It's so fitting, and you're so blah, blah, blah." It's like, "Oh my god." And she would, like, repeat. We spent so much time rehashing the same thing. "He's not mine. Stop calling me Nale. Start calling me Thorn. Stop calling me Prince." I didn't wanna hear that one more time.
Yeah.
I wanted a normal, real conversation between these 2 people instead of, like, shy banter.
Mhm.
It bothered the shit out of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, I'm not obsessed and didn't love that the his cum made her, like, have this crazy long-lasting orgasm.
So, I didn't really mind that. I thought it was kind of cool to have, what's the word? Something different,
Yeah,
something new, like how he had the weird, like, bulb at the base of his penis, hilarious, like,
yeah.
what? It's like whenever did you have you ever read, Ice Planet Barbarians?
Uh-uh.
Okay, there's like a monster it's like borderline monster human thing, so
Okay.
this is cool that they're different than humans in some way, because I actually had this as a pro for the book because solely because there's always this, like, expectation of sex with an immortal person. They can't explain it, but it's just better.
Mhm.
No, no, I want an explanation.
Okay,
How is it better?
that's
Why
fair.
is it better? So this having an explanation or 2, I was like, "Perfect." But
That's so funny. That's completely fair, like,
but
she
yeah,
tells you exactly why.
exactly why. But what I will say about the cum, it literally caught me off guard, like, made me choke at the beginning when they were talking about harvesting things from the highborn, and they were like, "And their cum." Like, what are you talking
Uh-huh. Mhm.
and how do you harvest it?
They would, like, be in on the what was happening
Had to
if
be.
so I don't know. I thought that was quite interesting. I felt like that added, like, another element to the story, like, as to why people would be wanting to kill them. If you have their eyes, you can, like, see things that are coming to you, or, like, if you have their tongue, people
But it
can't
was never brought
lie.
back up.
No, like, not at all. It barely, like, later she's like, "Oh, did you know that there's, like, a harvesting issue?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I forgot that that was going on, but it never gets brought back up. She did get me when he turned out to be the Prince of Vitruce. Normally, I catch that stuff so quick, but I was actually shocked that he was the prince. Like, she really got one over on me, which I don't know what
That's good.
that says about me. Like, I guess it's embarrassing, but
Well, it's at least nice that you had something to live for in this book.
yeah, like, I actually was
You're
shocked,
like,
which
"Ooh,
was
nice."
yeah, that was nice. I think the way that she presented it, like, I don't remember, I think it's, like, in the prologue, she says that the Prince of Vitruce, like, carries out the king's thing, but then these other people come in, so I completely forgot
Mhm, yeah.
about that.
That's a good point, yeah, I don't remember.
I did hate that we didn't learn his name until, like, she should have asked his name they had run into each other so many times before she finally
They already fucking in the
I'm
bathtub?
pretty sure, yeah, it was, like, that scene when she finally asks him his name, even though she's had multiple conversations with him and, like, has seen him naked. But I also felt like when they actually had sex, we were past the buildup, and especially he was like, "When I, like, am actually inside of you," like, built really, like, amping it up, and then when it happened, it was just, like, outside, and he, like, tackles her to the ground.
In the woods, what like
It wasn't That wasn't what I wanted it to be.
yeah, I did enjoy she, had the urge to run away. I thought that was kinda cool.
I know you haven't read, Haunting Adeline, same energy.
I won't
I
be.
love it. I loved that
But
part.
I loved that, and I was thinking, "Wow, this is, really a good way to spice things up."
Uh-huh.
And then, on the ground on all fours in the probably mud? In the wilderness?
After he, like, made this big stink about how it was gonna be, like, so amazing, I really the other scenes were better than that.
That's how
Like
I feel too, yeah. Especially that being, the one where they actually have sex, I was just like, "What?"
mhm, mhm.
The whole thing was very
It felt chaotic, and she had some good parts, but they weren't happening in the way that I wanted them to happen. I did write down, unfortunately, at the 60% mark where he's fingering her at the table in front of Claude, I did start to like the book, so
agree.
don't know what that says about me.
I have it down as favorite, scene.
Okay, so people should know we started doing, like, our Google Docs separately so that we couldn't see what each other says, so that is hilarious.
I know I didn't wanna expose myself this early on, but, just to know that we're commiserating, we are on the same page.
Okay,
Um,
great. That's embarrassing, but
so speaking of that scene, how do you feel about Claude?
I'm obsessed.
Me too.
At first, I was like, you don't know how to feel about him because you're like,
Right.
is he a piece of shit? Like, I don't know. Is he a deadbeat? I couldn't tell for the longest time. I
So funny.
I'm
I did not expect you to say
obsessed.
me too. And the thing is, like, the endearing part of him is that he is a piece of shit,
Yeah.
like, and he wants you to continue to think that, but he knows what's going on, and he's very, very calculated, and that will slip right under everyone's noses. No one will notice because he's too busy drinking everything in sight, getting high, and fucking anybody with a pulse, but he still is aware, like,
Yes, and he knows a lot more than he leads you to believe that he does, and loved that he, like, showed up for the training that day and, like, he didn't do anything, but he just watched and listened, and I think that he has a lot more to him than what we're giving him credit for,
agree.
and he is, like, really intriguing me
Yeah,
with the
and
story.
the fact that he left before his town was, like, burned to the ground, I understand it's supposed to be cowardly or whatever, but it's just another point in the same direction. He knew what was going on. He knew Heimel was up to some shit, and he was gonna get him killed, and he was not gonna be a part of it, and I'm happy that he survived. I really wanna know more about him, and I think that this was another miss for me where he was actually one of the characters I feel like we knew more a
Yes.
bit, but I still think there was a lot left to be revealed.
Mhm. 100%. I felt the exact same way. I hope that he's doing okay wherever he is. One thing that I really appreciated about this book is that all of the males were not obsessed with the main character.
Oh, I totally agree. They
So
weren't all
nice.
just, like, in love with her.
Yes, and I like that Claude genuinely cared about her. I think that he does know a lot more about her than, like, what he led on, and I know that she knew he was telling the truth when he said, like, "I genuinely didn't know if you were Starborn, so I didn't wanna say anything."
Yeah.
But I do think that he knows a lot more than he lets on. Love that, but I am curious about because now Allison is dead and she was apparently his, like, number 1, so I wonder if he's gonna be, like, a little bit upset about that,
I'm
but
sure he will be, but I don't know. I don't know how, like, is it actually a relationship? We don't really know, or is it
yeah,
just a favorite paramour? I don't know.
yeah,
I really respected the fact that he had kind of left Liz alone for the past 2 years, no sexual contact, because he kind of felt that she wasn't really into it,
yeah,
and he's just a lot more aware than the other people give him credit for.
yes.
Um, what else was I gonna say? I can't remember. There was something else that I liked about him. Oh, well, I'll think about it in a minute.
He's just like I feel like he's a genuinely good person, like, when he just, like, brought
Yeah,
her in.
right, that's what I was gonna say. It turns out that he knew the whole reason why she was staying there and pretty much selling herself to make Grady and her comfortable, and he just let it happen. He's like, "I'm not gonna force you to be a paramour,
Yeah.
but if you want a roof over your head, like, can you do these things for me?"
Yeah, and yeah, he's like, "I know that you're not happy here," or, like, he keeps checking in with her, like, "Are you happy?" And it feels like he genuinely cares. I really think he's
What I wanted to know is what's eating him? Like, what's weighing on him? Because the way she's describing their interactions, it seems like it's different than what they were in the past. Like, he's not usually worried about stuff. So do you think it was him knowing about Heimel and everyone kind of plotting to destroy Archwood, or do you think something else?
I don't know. I feel like he probably knows a little bit more in depth, like, what is actually happening, especially because him and Vane Balin, which
Schweinweilen.
I can't not say it that way, like, are related. I think that he knows a lot more and, like, obviously, he has all these, like, debts and things that he needs to pay off. I don't know. I love
Something's
him.
amiss. I do love him as well. Um, yeah, I'm really sad to see him scurry off. I wanted him to be more involved at the end.
Same, but I hope he's doing okay. One question that I did have, did we learn what happened to Milton after
No. Not that I know of.
he didn't, like, die or anything, did he?
I know the other 2 died.
Yeah.
Milton. Were there 3 involved or were there just the 2? I know a couple of them burned in the fires that Thorne had set in the city.
Milton was the one at the end, like, with Allison, just like the stranger that was like,
Oh, shit.
"Let's get to the wine cellar," because, like,
Right. I don't
did he
know.
die? I can't
I kind of
remember.
assumed that every person that was at the manor died.
Okay, I couldn't remember if he got away. If not, if he didn't die, if we didn't, like, get that, he's definitely gonna come back around into the story, like,
Okay.
in
Well,
some
he already
way.
escaped my mind, so
Yeah, it was just, like, a thought that I had, but, okay.
so
Do
she
you
makes her escape with Grady, and at the end, she's, like, still kind of sacrificing herself to save him, and she's been doing all of this pretty much, not just for him, also for herself because she wants a
Yeah,
house and, like, food and a place to live,
yeah.
but I don't care about Grady.
I feel the same way, but I feel like she's wanting you to care a lot
Of
about him.
course. Yeah. But she's giving us crumbs of him, so how are we supposed to know that?
Yeah, again, don't know anything about him. You don't really even get that much of him until the very end, the last, like, 20 pages when they're in this, like, random inn, and it's or even, like, the escape, I guess you get a little bit more of him, and I really enjoyed their relationship, like, it seems really sweet. Also, you find out in, like, the last 30 pages that he's gay or bisexual,
Yeah,
'cause I
that
was thinking the whole time, like, he's gonna be the one who's secretly in love with her, but, like
I had that thought multiple times, this better not come out that he's in love with her, but
yes.
then he had mentioned, like, he wanted to get married and have kids. So then I was like, "Oh, he's not talking about with her."
Yes. So, exact same experience for me, and I was like, "I swear to God, if it comes out that he has loved her, like, their whole lives, I'm gonna be so mad." But then, like, to me, it felt a little bit like she's like, "Hmm, we need a gay character." And, like, right there at the end, she was like
Claude is bi. She was talking about
yeah.
how he enjoys both or whatever.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I guess when I read that, I assumed they were both bi because he said he wants to get married and have kids, which you don't have to be straight to do that, but I
Right.
just when you say that and then later come back and say that you were
We're with a
dating a
man,
man,
a married man,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It's confusing still to me, but that's how I felt. She wanted us to care about Grady so badly, but never gave us the tools to do so. Like, why am I gonna care about a background character?
And she sets you up, like, at the very beginning, like, he's the one that's, like, looking after when they're at the orphanage, but then it completely falls off, and you don't really get him again until the end, and I almost he's supposed to be, like, I guess, part of the guard or something, like, he works for Claude, but you don't really get to see that, like, I almost feel like he's a baby, like
He does nothing,
yeah, I feel
but he's
like
part of the rebellion.
oh, yeah.
I wanted to know what happened to his arm whenever he was, quote, unquote, "doing something at the smith,"
Mhm,
and he keeps
mhm.
bringing up everything about the Iron Knights. Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
He's in the rebellion.
yeah,
I need that to come to fruition. Why was that not more emphasized?
yeah. The Iron Knights invade Balin, and then but that's not who even attacked.
No. So, the political climate of this whole book is a fucking mystery to me.
It's also a mess.
It's a
Like,
mess.
I somewhat still don't really understand why. I guess, like, they just want a new ruler, they don't like the way that the king is running things, so they want this other, like, princess or whatever to be the ruler.
But
I
then the craziest part is everyone's like, "Okay, this princess is a Celestia.
uh-huh.
She's not even a lowborn, and this is
Yeah,
a lowborn driven rebellion." And then you find out that Vane Balin is also not a lowborn. He's a lowborn, I guess, but he's not mortal.
right.
So, what?
I really like, I can't figure it
But they're
out.
not who attacked. The highborn main army attacked Archwood,
Right.
correct?
Yes, the king.
Yeah.
attacked, and because he
Which was weird
wanted
because I was under the impression that Thorn carried out his will.
yes, and the king is wanting to get Thorn's Seraph because if she gets with Thorn, he'll have his Cora. Li Literally, it's so confusing, and I haven't been this confused about the dynamics of a fantasy book since I started reading fantasy. Like, I'm good at it now, I can put shit together. This is really so confusing because everything's underexplained and also overexplained at the same
At the
time.
same time, I can't express enough that that's exactly what stopped me from finishing her other series. If anyone has read The War of Two Queens, and you have made it beyond that in the From Blood and Ash series, how? Like, it's
Okay.
all like this. It's this is actually this is actually this. And then this girl's fighting this girl and she's her son, but this girl's her granddaughter. And you're like, oh, wait, none of this, first of all, matters.
Uh-huh.
And second of all, like, none of this was stated prior to just now in this insane battle. And you're like, what's going on? You just get so lost in all of the stupid details
Yeah.
because you aren't prepared. Like, you don't show up to the battle or whatever scene with the background knowledge. And now all of a sudden, this like word salad is thrown at you. And you're like, what does all this shit mean?
And why did it not matter before this point in time?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I don't understand is like, what, why do they want to get rid of Archwood? And that's not really been explained, really. She
Just
kind of asked.
yeah, he just said it would be
More convenient.
better, I think, if they just, like, got rid of it, and then that way they wouldn't have the invasion because there would, like, be nothing to attack or I genuinely, like, I don't know.
I just don't know how Thorn is not privy to the attack on the town that he was in.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm assuming they set him up to go on that other like excursion,
Yeah,
but like that was still never stated. The whole thing,
it is a mess.
absolutely
So,
crazy.
let's move on. Let's talk about we put on here Bastion, and I don't have, like, a
I deleted
ton.
him.
Okay, I don't have a lot to say, but, like, he seemed like he was bringing some comic relief in some
Yes, and then he
way.
just disappeared.
Same for Naomi. Did you write anything for her?
I just put like I don't have much to say, but I really, really wanted more of her. I think that if I had more of her, she would have been my favorite character.
Okay, yes, like, she was bringing the fun. I feel like she was good for Liz, like, she kinda had a sense of humor. Kinda same thing for Bastion, like, they were bringing a little bit of a more fun element, but, like, she shut that shit down, like, you really
Yeah,
don't get
yeah. She just gets rid of them both.
because they're too busy having multiple sex scenes before 50% of the book. But then you get literally no background care. It was literally driving me insane. I am upset that, like, Naomi's mad at Liz, but I can understand why.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to read the second book, which I probably won't, I would need that to be settled because this is such a bad situation that they're in.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
I really hope that, like, the vision didn't come true and Laura Lynn actually survives the end of the
Yeah.
feast, but I don't know. Okay, the only other person we have is how are you saying his name?
Heimel?
Hamel. I haven't said it out loud. I think I'm saying Hamel.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on him?
So I hated the guy. Like, you're supposed to hate him. He's a dick to Liz. He sold everyone out. He like fucking like hit her, like grabbed her. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that he's dead. He was the only person that was bringing any content.
Okay. Same. Like,
There was no plot without him.
that is exactly what I put down. Like, Bro is a dumbass. Like, he is literally an idiot. He got played so hard. Love that they do not give a fuck about him. Like, he helped them
Yeah.
out and they're like, "Thanks." But like you have absolutely no value to us. That's great, but what now? Like, we don't have any conflict really internally at least. Because she's, like, good with Samriel or Arian, like, she was fine with them. No one was really in any real danger. It was too obvious that Hamel was the traitor to
Yeah.
me, but he was the one, like, bringing the
He was pushing the needle. Who else was doing it?
literally no one.
So now what?
I
That's how I feel about
guess
the whole book. Now what?
and, like, he was the like, Claude's enemy, with the one, like, gunning after his job and doing all of this to, like, help settle the debts, well, like and so that he could be the Baron. No more conflict, like, he's gone. It was just dumb.
There's so many loose ends, I feel like, in
Mhm.
this book, and just throughout the plot, like, none of it gets wrapped up, like, in a bow at all, and I get the need for a cliffhanger. Totally. I also understand that you need to leave some things left unsaid, like we were talking about earlier. There's definitely a benefit of having, like you will leave that to your imagination,
Yeah.
but not, like, most of the plot.
Not literally every single plot line that you have going on, like, we have I don't think we have any
They
answers.
need to intersect at some point.
Mhm. Mhm. We don't know I forgot to say this about Thorn. We don't know if he is aware of what Lys is to him. You would think that he's, like, really smart and, like, intuitive.
I'm so glad you brought this up. I wrote this down. Do you think he knows? Why would he not know? Why would they know and he not know?
I know it's, like, the thing with the eyes, like, she has the brown eyes and she would have blue. If they were smart enough to figure it out, our male main character needs to be smart enough to figure it out.
He doesn't know about her intuition, does he?
No. She hasn't told him at
But
least.
still just being drawn to her, and then there was that one mention of him having, like, a bit of humanity or something, some sort
Mhm.
of, like, characteristic that he wasn't used to having.
With specifically her when that was what the gods created the Nakora for, Nakora.
Yeah, and that's that part, and he, like, pondered it for a second.
Mhm.
So I assume that he connected the dots, but if he didn't, then I'm like, "Okay, what kind of fucking male main character is this?"
Exactly, like, so he's an idiot. Like,
Great.
it I don't know, like, literally not one thing got wrapped up.
No. And I will say the very, very last sentence, I was like, "Ooh, what happens now?"
Uh-huh.
But I didn't feel that way at all in the rest of the book.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
no,
rest of the book.
it was really do you wanna go ahead and move on to our, like, favorites and stuff? Because
Sure.
I had except for favorite character, I had a really hard time choosing
Me
because
too.
everything felt gray. Nothing was spectacular. Nothing was truly terrible.
Yeah.
I felt like
I totally
I felt
agree.
like if we were on a roller coaster, it was like,
It was the one made for, like, 0 to 3-year-olds.
yes, 100%. So, who was your favorite character?
Claude.
Obviously.
I mean, who else was what am I gonna say, Heimel? Like, I
Right,
can't
like
no one else was bringing anything to the table.
mm-mm. Yeah, he cracks me up. I love that he, like, lives for fun and good times, but he's got some depth of he's the only one.
He does have a little bit of depth that we can see so far.
Mhm.
Favorite scene?
Okay, like I said, nothing really stood out, but I did like the whole scene where she's, like, sent to his chambers for the first time, and he, like, doesn't know that she's coming, and he, like, attacks her yet again. And then I liked even, like, in the bathtub, whole scene. I can I say definitively, like, that was the best part of the book? No, but, like, when prompted, that's what I came up with. So, what
Okay.
about you?
Okay, so first I put, the one with Claude and Thorne in the dining hall that we talked about earlier, like, that's the only scene that really comes to mind when I'm like, "Wow,
Yeah.
delectable, love
Mhm.
it." because they're still conversing
Yeah.
while this shit is going
Yeah.
down. What I hated was afterward the discourse of between her and Claude and him being like, "Oh, I could never make you come like that." Like, ooh,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
this is something that we're not supposed to talk about afterward,
Right.
like as a friend.
Right, and also, I didn't understand quite why he was being so cryptic with her, like, "He'll take really good care of you,"
He'll give you everything.
just kinda
Obviously,
tell her
Claude
what you mean.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah, just tell like, why are you there's no sense in hiding anything from her, we don't know what he knows, but he knows something, so just
Out
tell
with it.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So that I it was like a perfect scene for me, and then it followed up, and it just went kind of
Yeah.
downhill. So if I could just stop it at the part where he asks for her to like stay with his
Yeah.
in his chambers the whole time, that was like perfect. Love
Yeah.
it. I could be done. Second favorite scene was Heimel dying. That was really funny. That kissed him on the cheek and just snapped his neck.
Yeah, he's just like, what did he say? Like, "You've done well," or like, "You did a great job. You served us well," whatever.
Bye.
Done with you.
Great.
On to the next one.
Loved it. Okay, so now without further ado, as if we haven't already been doing that the whole entire episode, let's talk some shit.
Finally.
What was your least favorite scene?
Um, Not really a scene, but just her continuing to talk about rats scurrying over her body in her hair, like when she was in like the orphanage, like the priory.
Ew, I don't remember that.
Rats on the floor. Not me, I don't do rats. So that, that was my least favorite. But again, like I didn't love or hate like
Yeah, there was
anything.
nothing like there was no pull one way or the other. I would rather have hated a bunch of scenes like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I can't believe that happened," like, be so upset about it. Just make me emotional in some way.
Yes, like, I need to have highs and lows in the book. I don't wanna just, like, soar
Coast
right on
through.
through.
Yeah.
What about you? What was your least favorite?
Um, my least favorite is whenever she's telling Naomi to leave and she's like, "Before it's too late for your sister." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, she's gonna die, like, before tomorrow."
I did
Pretty
hate
much, because the
that.
feasts were underway from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing days her sister had left. So, you either keep it from her until it happens, or you tell her way in advance. You don't say, "Your sister's dying tomorrow, you need to go home now."
Right, like, you need to go spend
That's
some
so
time with
fucked
your sister.
up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a really good one. That was one of my least
So that
favorites.
sucks.
Mhm.
But not in a good, bad scene kind of way. But
Right.
it did, like, give me a little bit of, like, an emotional tug that I hadn't
Yes.
had in a while.
100%.
Um, so the next section is where we usually say one thing about the plot or book in general that we hated or would change. And I have a feeling that's not gonna be one thing.
It certainly is not. Mine's several sentences long. So, if you have a list, if you wanna
I
just, like,
do.
just you say your list,
Okay.
and then I'll say mine.
Okay. The plot. This is just one, like, one-off thing that we deserved from the plot. We deserved the orgy at the feasts.
100%.
Why were you talking that up? The feast, the orgy, the best sex ever, the fucking highborn with an H have the best, like, sex ever. Naomi's, like, just talking, talking, talking. What? Why did we never get that?
Didn't get it. All you get is this one guy walking with 2 girls. That's not really an orgy. Like, that's just
No,
people
and we
having a good
weren't
time.
involved. They were just, like, off, not involved with us.
Mhm.
So that. Okay. This is what I have to say about the writing, amongst other things that we probably already have said. The use of the ellipses. If I see one more dot, 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 and she always double uses the word, so she'll say the dot, 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 the. That's not how an ellipses is supposed to be
When I
used.
tell you when I tell you, I don't know if you remember when I started the book, I was on page 6 and I said, "I hate this book." On my life, there was an ellipses, like the, average, at least 1 for every page.
Mhm. So there was I had that experience, and then I was like, "Oh, She's trying to convey that this highborn is out of breath because he's, like, just so disheveled and just got, like, attacked, and then it just never went away.
Literally, that was put the biggest thing was the ellipses. When you do, like, word, dot, 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 word again, like, he was the
The Grim!
the hash
The
slinging.
the Grinch!
It's giving community theater. That's exactly what I wrote down, like, hated it. She was older than I expected her to be. Like, stop.
Community theater is exactly the thing.
It was literally getting on my fucking nerves. Tell me if that is in From Blood and
I've
Ash.
never experienced that before.
I literally wrote down, "I will not read From Blood and Ash if that continues," because it was literally driving me insane.
Yeah. Okay. Overuse of the ellipses, which is like, I guess, some sort of, it's not really punctuation, but she overused it and you have to use a period. So I feel like there was like a lot of like punctuation that I saw when I was looking at the page. And whenever I'm approaching a page, like how it looks overall is typically how it changes the way I feel about what I'm reading. And so just seeing that all the time, I was like, oh my God, I cannot with the fucking ellipses. But then it was like her sentences were so long and run on that, like, just use a period.
I also wrote a lot of commas.
A lot of commas. And then a lot of places that could have used a comma and there wasn't one, or it could have used a period and there wasn't one.
She really did not word things well, like, she should have restructured the sentence.
Yes, absolutely. It's like the content a lot of times wasn't the issue of the sentence. Of the
Uh-huh.
book, there was a
Yeah.
content issue, but of the sentence, I would be like, this is an okay sentence if you just put a period."
Yes, or if you put it was like she was using prepositions in the wrong spot,
Yes.
or, like, it would be like a passive sentence, and it was driving me
It
mad.
was driving me insane. And so I already talked about the changing of the spelling of the words. And then we talked about the modern phrases. She literally said 3 sheets to the wind
Mhm.
and fuck boy.
Fuckboy was the worst one to me.
Yeah.
There were a lot, though.
Now that is something that does both of these things that we just talked about are both present in From Blood and Ash. This is verbatim in one of her books. She says that something lives in her mind rent free. But it's like medieval. There's no like electricity. There's no like concept of rent. Like you own a farm or you don't have land. Like that's kind of it. So that was interesting. And then whenever I went back and read From Blood and Ash I tried to reread it in maternity leave and I just didn't have
Yeah.
time. I found myself being confused about her sentences and having to reread them because she wouldn't punctuate them or she would just have the way she worded things wasn't really
Yeah.
my forte. Like I was like my mind is not really following this.
Yeah.
But I did not have that experience the first time I read it and I think it's just you get used to good descriptions
Yeah.
and whenever that's taken away from you you're like, "Wait. My brain isn't really like it's not going as fast."
Yes.
You know, it's not as easy to
Yes,
consume.
you get, like, tripped up
Yeah,
on
bogged down.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. She would say a lot of, like, I would I'm trying to think of, like, an example,
I
like,
have some.
sh
So, I'm not a book
sticky
um,
notes,
there's, like, people that have
annotation.
annotations and they'll put stickies that, like, mean something. So, like, "Oh, all the blue stickies are like, the quotes I love, and all the pink stickies are like this, and the red ones are sex scenes."
Yeah.
All these pink ones, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These were sentences I wanted to bring up
Okay.
because I have such beef.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Okay. This one is what she's riding out to, find the highborn. She doesn't know that yet. It's just her intuition telling her, and she says, something scampered across the path, and she says, "I freaking hated rats more than I hated spiders." We have never discussed her hate for spiders, And there was that weird scene where she's talking about, like, how dumb this is, and she's like, "This is dumber than the time I pulled a snake out of the thing," or, "This is dumber than the time I did this," and there was so many other examples of how dumb I was.
Freaking
I
hate?
freaking hated rats more than I hated spiders.
Okay. Again, like, we talked about the rats. Dumb. Don't say freaking, and don't say I freaking hated.
I know, I genuinely, like, I don't what? So then this one is even worse. This is very millennial, derogatory millennial. This is he'd incinerated another with his hand. If he could do that to one of his own, what in the whole wide realm of nope could he do to a lowborn? Do you remember that?
I'm remembering all of these now that you're reading them, and I had the same experience.
This one was the one so this I found it. This was the one that gave me the idea, and then it took me till just now to find it in the book
Okay.
again because it was so hard to, like, search. It says, "Okay," I thought over what he said. "Could you just not do the whole fire thing with your hand again?" I asked, and immediately recognized that that was a question I never thought I'd ever ask. That's a sentence. Okay, ignore the fact that she said the weird thing that she said. Then she says, "I asked," and immediately recognized that was a question I had never thought I'd ever ask.
So confusing. That's what I'm talking about, the sentence structure, like,
What is going on? And I have 2 more. I can't remember. Okay. While I find your little this is, Thorn talking to her. "While I find your little lies and half-truths to be strangely amusing, this is not one of those moments." His fingers found their way to the nape of my neck and stayed. "Trust me when I say it would be very, very unwise to do so."
I had that problem a lot. The, like
The verbiage is not the
yes,
same
yes, you're not using, like, the same I don't know what it is, the same, like, tense of things,
of, like
like
and it's an action verb, so,
yes.
like, you didn't say an action, and now you're saying do. So what do you mean do?
I think that I tripped up on that exact same spot, and I'm like, "Wait, do what?" Because you're not, like,
Yeah.
using the same
You didn't
context.
say, I think it's funny when you lie." You said, "While I think your lies and half-truths are amusing."
Okay, yes. Another
These are
example.
easy fixes.
And she had an editor this time, so, like
Okay, this is the last one. This one might not even be that bad, I can't remember. This one just pissed me off because it was so repetitive, but he was like Claude was talking to her, and he's like, "You look lovely this evening, by the way." He reached over, tugging on a strand of rubies, dark lashes lowered. "At least I have something lovely to look upon while I wait." Okay, you just said that. And then that might be it. I don't remember. I can't remember. Anyways, just like there was shit like that throughout the book. These were just the vibe that like I was like, "Oh my god, these literally are terrible."
there was a lot of that. There was a lot of
Lot.
not using the same, like, verbiage, and I couldn't, like, follow what he was saying,
Yeah.
like, referring back to, or she would say, like, um I'm trying to think of an example, but she would say, like, "I would need to do that," and it's like, "Do what?" Like, I could
Which thing are
yeah,
you
like,
talking
you
about?
can't, like, make the connection back to what they're talking about.
Yes. And then she also I found that like, she would bury parts of the actual like setting in between sentences so quickly that I would miss what was happening. So like there was one point where I did not realize that like the conversation they were having was taking place while they were walking to get on a horse, and all of a sudden she's in the saddle. I'm like, where'd the horse come from? I was like, what? No, wait, what is going on? So that just like it's just little things that I think are so fixable,
Uh-huh.
and that's why it pisses me off the most because I'm just like, Jennifer, email me the PDF. Actually,
Really.
send it in a Word document so I can leave comments,
Mhm.
but, like, I really, really think that with a person just reading your book all the way through and making quick changes to your sentences,
Uh-huh.
and that would be great because her ideas are really cool. Like, I love the fact that the highborn feed on pleasure and not just
Yeah.
sexual, just, like, pleasure.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and it helps them heal, and there's the Nakora is cool that they have this other thing. They can choose to let them live or they can choose to kill them if they don't wanna have a weakness. That's awesome, but it's just all getting so lost in the fact that your writing is mediocre.
Yes, and another thing that I did like is at the end where she, like, puts her hand on Highmail and she, like, starts dying laughing, and you don't know why, and then, like, later like, he gets
Yeah,
killed and she's like, "I was laughing because, like, I saw it." She did a great job,
that
so
was great,
it's
yeah.
like she's capable of doing these things, but if you have a friend who's, like, good at grammar, please just send them the
Yes,
PDF.
and like I said, she on her website lists many publishers, and I'm not sure of the exact way that publishing a book works. The only thing I've ever read about was from Book Lovers, so I just know you send it to an editor. But isn't that usually in the process? Like, if you have a publisher, they usually provide some sort of editor or editing process?
One would think. I mean, you would think that's included.
You would think, but apparently no, because everyone was saying this is edited and the others aren't. But to me, this one's worse
Yeah.
than the others.
Okay, I don't have anything to compare to, but it's bad. I mean, I genuinely feel like I could have written this book, like, and I mean that with my whole heart, like, I could
And you
have
mean
written
it,
it better.
yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Give these ideas to somebody, get a ghostwriter, like, tell them
Literally.
your ideas and tell them that this is the plot. Give them this, you know what? Do the opposite of what Rebecca Yarros is doing.
Yeah,
Give Rebecca Yarros your plot skeleton and let her fill it out.
100%. Or it makes you wonder, like, does she have an outline? Like, does she have an outlining process for writing her books where she puts, like, the beginning, the middle, the end, all the storylines that need to come to fruition? Like, I don't think that this is organized in a way because it feels very chaotic in the order that you're finding out information, in the order that things are happening, but not getting resolved or not being followed up on.
Followed up on, like, the loose ends kill me, like, even even if organization wasn't the issue, like, you have to give everyone some sort of closure on each new
Yes.
problem. But now Claude's gone. You don't know, you just found out that you're kind of immortal. You don't know if Thorne knows it. You don't know if anyone in Archwood is alive. Naomi's gone. Heimel's dead, so you don't really know exactly how this all started. There's just so many things that I feel like we deserve answers
Yeah,
to
we
at
didn't
this
get one
point.
answer like Grady, where's he at?
Yeah.
No idea. Haven't met the king yet. Don't Vane Balin, what's he doing? Literally, like Prince Rainer that came, like, why was he even involved in this in any way?
Who even, like, who does he answer to? Like, what?
It's really like it is just a chaotic
It's chaotic, and
mess.
this is the only time I've been like, "I wish this book was longer because I
Yes,
need to know what the fuck is about to happen," and
100%.
not in a good way. Like, I
Exactly.
just needed there to be more subject matter.
Totally.
We spent so much time having sex and thinking about why I'm thinking about this highborn.
Uh-huh.
No character development.
Yeah. Yeah, not at all.
Ugh.
You covered pretty much all of my things, or we've covered them. So I'd put ellipses, a lot of commas. Felt like I couldn't separate the character from the author because of just like the way that she
Yeah.
wrote things. I wrote Aristo is so millennial. Um, Too romance forward was literally the entire plot. Not enough build up,
Plot.
not enough character development, not enough story development. Don't know any of the characters. Stayed in one place too long. Um, she should have chased after Thorn when he left to simply get into a new setting, like, chase him into the witch woods. I don't know. It was just a mess.
a mess overall. Do you have any hot takes? At this point, I don't think any of our takes are hot. I don't know anyone who likes this book.
Yeah. So I did put one that I thought was a hot take, but then we already talked about it. I'm actually mad that Hamel died because
Oh, okay.
I put like I feel like we could have gotten more from his story. I wanted him to witness how stupid he was in thinking that this was going to like pan out for him.
Yeah.
He met his end too mercifully and
Oh,
too
that's a
soon.
good point. That's a good point. I because now that he's dead, like, that was us being like, "Ha ha, what an idiot," but he never had that
Right.
experience. That's a good point.
So that was my hot take. I don't necessarily know that it was a hot take because you also said like, no, we don't have anything.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I see what you're saying, like, it's definitely still kind of a hot take that you didn't want him to die, but
I
still.
wanted something bad to happen to him for sure, but I just felt like he didn't suffer enough for, like,
True.
being an asshole, so
Totally
that was fine.
agree.
Did you have any hot takes?
Yeah, so the people on Goodreads, you guys are fucking deranged. That's my hot take. What are you doing giving this book 4 or 5 stars?
Why is it rated 4 stars on Goodreads? There's no reason.
And we are not me. Katie is very diligent on picking books that have not just star ratings that are spectacular, but she will dig through the Goodreads comments
Yeah,
and see, okay, well, what are people actually saying? Because it's not always reflected.
right.
So people are like, wow, this is what JLA sounds like with an editor. Wow, I can't believe this book, blah, blah. I can't wait for the next book. I even saw someone the other day when I was trying to obtain fan art from Roki's Instagram.
Okay.
Someone commented on one of them and was like, can you do Prince Thorn next from Fall of Ruin and Wrath? And I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be a good book if people are wanting fan art, like requesting
Yeah.
fan art. Flop.
I did the fact that looking up fan art never crossed my mind, that lets you
That's
know
a red flag.
I don't care about these characters, like,
Well, who
at
could
all.
write fan art about them? We don't know what any of them look like.
All we know is that Liz looks weird,
With big eyes.
dark hair to her waist, and eyes that were brown, but I guess now they're blue. Not that we would have known because she didn't tell us. I can't, like, the book really was bad. So let's talk, overall thoughts. So what was your star rating, and then what was Chili's?
Okay, so my star rating was 2.5.
Okay.
I almost gave it 3 just because I was enjoying the concepts, but there really wasn't enough there for me to be like, "Okay, yes, this is definitely" like, I'm just not as impressed as I am with her other books, and I genuinely think that there's books of hers that you would like,
Mhm.
but there's always gonna be those little critiques, but you read Kindle Unlimited, so you know
Yeah.
what that's like, and so it's never, ever been an issue for me until now. So yeah, and then for Chili Peppers, I gave it 3. I do think it was a little bit, spice forward, which I didn't mind. I enjoyed most of the scenes. Sure, they didn't, like, maybe live up to our expectations after she herself hyped them up. It's not
Mhm.
like we set this expectation. She
Right.
was saying, like, "I'm gonna do XYZ," and then
Right.
didn't deliver. So but the scenes themselves were good to me. I enjoyed them,
Yeah.
and I feel like she knows how to write spice well. It's not she doesn't seem weird about it, and there's not ever, like, anything kind of icky.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that, but she does do a good job, like, writing those scenes. They're not too much talking, which I really, really do not
Yes, that always
like.
throws me off.
She really did write really good spy scenes, and I was, like, left wanting more, like,
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to when they actually had sex, and then that just, like, let me down, but she did a really good job writing those scenes, so yeah, I also gave it 3 chili peppers, which to me, this is, like, kind of at my max how much spice I want to have in a book.
Yeah.
I think that if it would have been more spread out or, like, if we were less one scene, like, maybe save the actual sex scene for the next book, I think it would have been, like, absolutely perfect. So it was, like, just only slightly too much for me. For the book rating, I gave it 3 stars. To me, this book is so just, like, mediocre. Like, I can't necessarily say that this is the worst book that I've read. It's certainly not the best.
Yeah.
Um, would I recommend it? Probably not.
I think I wouldn't.
I don't think that I would tell someone, like, "You absolutely do not need to read this book." If you have read literally every other fantasy series,
Then maybe.
maybe. But there's a lot better series out here. The only reason that I'm interested to potentially read the second book is because of Claude. Like,
Yeah, what's he up to?
where did he go? What does he know? I am intrigued, but, like, I'm definitely not gonna be sitting around 2 weeks from now thinking about this book. It's
I
just
agree. Totally agree. I don't even I think last or whatever time I finished it this morning, I was like, "Oh, I wonder how the next book will be," but I don't think it's out yet, and I probably will never touch it.
no.
Did you ever read the, series? I don't remember what the first book was called, but the second one was, like, The Queen of Nothing, and then
Wait,
The
what
Crooked
series is
Prince or
that?
something, Wicked Prince or something. You know what I'm talking
What
about?
series is that? Because I know what you're talking I haven't read it. Queen of Nothing sounds so familiar,
I'm Googling it
though.
because it's gonna eat me alive. I don't
Yeah.
It's by Holly Black, and I ended up reading that other standalone book that she has called The Book of Night, and it was the worst book I read that
Yeah.
year. I don't have my service isn't working right now, but it's like The Cruel Prince, that's what it's called.
No, I didn't read it, but I have really bad FOMO for not reading it because people love it.
No, that's how I feel about this book. And that it's not the best, it's not the worst, and I could never see myself going back in time and picking it up.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't justify rereading it ever.
100%. Yeah, I read the sample of Cruel Prince and I was like, "You know what? I don't think this is for me."
No, it really it's I have the same feelings about it, and actually, if I had to pick a world, I'd pick this one, and the characters are better than the other ones.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's probably my hot take of
Yeah.
the episode, and don't come for me in the comments, but truly, like, I'm leaving feeling the same way. I don't have any negative energy towards it. I'm never gonna, like, spend my time, like, talking shit about it
Uh-huh.
ever again after this
Right, right.
however many long hours episode. But and I'm not mad that I read it, but I'm not like, "Wow, that was good."
Yeah, I just feel, like, totally neutral toward this book, like,
Yeah,
I will
which
never
I
think about it
hate
again.
feeling because it just took me 2 weeks
Mhm.
to read that, which obviously I'm a much slower reader now and I have shit to be doing. But in my free time, I really want if I'm gonna be reading a book, I wanna be blown away.
Right. So, we can only hope that the next book is better. So,
Speaking of her, what do you have lined up for us?
okay, so our next book is going to be A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. Now, I read the first 2 books of her other series, The Bridge Kingdom.
She wrote The Bridge Kingdom.
She wrote The
Okay, I
Bridge
have heard about
Kingdom.
that.
And a lot of people really like it, really recommend it. I read it immediately after I finished Throne of Glass, which was my last Sarah J. Maas series. So I had that Sarah J. Maas was the only fantasy I read until The Bridge Kingdom. So
Okay.
not a fair comparison. I stand by the fact that The Bridge Kingdom was just okay. It was not fantastic. The book started out really good, and then as the story developed, it kind of fell apart a little bit for me. Very corny, very cheesy, like, the end of each chapter was, like, so lame, like,
Like, ended too perfectly or, like, was always a weird
was
cliffhanger?
always like, "But that was just something we would just have to wait and see." Or
Oh,
like
they're trying to yeah.
yes, like, you don't need to make it so obvious that this is the end of the chapter, like,
Yeah.
just close the scene and, like, let's move on to the next one. Um, however, I've seen a lot of really good reviews for this book. saying that, like, it's a lot better. I think that because The Bridge Kingdom was not super spicy, but it was definitely there. I've only read the first 2 books, and I believe it's like a set of 3 duologies. I believe the second duology is out, and I'm not inclined to read it, although people say that it's better than the first
Okay.
duology.
So maybe she just, like, kept getting better and better.
That's what I'm hoping. I like got this email from Goodreads the other day about a Fate Inked in Blood, and I think it's because it's on my want to read list. And it said like this story has been like a really long time in the making. Like it's like a
Okay.
concept that she's had for forever, and she finally got to like play it out. So I'm hoping the Bridge Kingdom also, let me tell you, the way it's not fantasy, the way there's no magic.
This is you told me about this.
Yes.
That's right. There's no magic and she's like an archer or something, or there's like an archer involved.
Yeah, they're just like people who can fight with swords. It's like fantasy setting without there's no magic, there's no like mystical
No
beings,
immortality.
no nothing. Like they are normal. So I'm hoping that a Fate Inked in Blood, I believe that it is like actually fantasy,
Interesting. Okay.
but I guess we will find out.
I will say I went to Barnes and Noble to get the actually I think it was Books a Million. Anyway, to get the second book of Red Rising, and it had like a big display in the front. I also bought that's when I bought this book. Had a big display in the front, and she has like sparkle edges, like glitter. Like it's
Like cute or like
it was kind of cute. It
okay.
was Chug for
Okay.
sure, but it was like they done it up for like the big book release.
Okay.
So
Well,
I feel like you don't do that unless you have people are wanting to buy it, like
yeah.
pre-ordering it.
Yeah.
You don't do like special editions of a shit book.
Let's hope because I really don't want to read another shitty book.
I really don't want
So,
to either. I'm praying that we can get past this. This was really funny though. I will
yeah.
say, if you've made it this far, like we knew this was going to be a book that like literally the first day I started reading it, I texted Katie and I was like, "Do you want to change books?"
Yeah.
And she said no. So she thought it'd be kind of funny to do this, and I hope that it has served that purpose for you guys because that's all I did it for was just the comedic value.
100%. Hopefully the next book will be good. I do kind of feel bad because this was the first book in there's no more books in the series and the next book, very same thing. There's no more books in the series. So we're kind of forcing people to start unfinished series that like there's literally only one book.
Yeah, that's on us.
But you guys
Sorry.
are going to have to get over it. Like, these are the books that Book Talk is talking about. There's also When the Moon Hatched. And if you look at reviews, they're so split. Like, people are like,
Oh
this is the
wow.
book of the year, or this book was not worth it. It was really confusing. Apparently, there's like a 20-page index that you have to read, like, before the book even starts. So I'm intrigued by it, but
Okay.
I'm almost thinking that the girls who are giving it rave reviews have been paid by the author. Like, I actually think that.
Wow.
We'll see. I haven't looked up like the Goodreads reviews yet, which a lot of them are probably advanced reader copy
I also
people.
very much enjoy that title, like regardless of the
Yeah.
story. Hatched.
It's cute and the cover's really cute too.
Okay.
So I'll keep you abreast, but right now I'm feeling more inclined. People are like, okay, people I saw a video that was like this book is the best and I just don't feel that way. So we'll see.
You should consider dabbling and then let me know because my ass isn't reading anything except for the podcast.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
If I get into it and I feel like it's good, maybe I'll save it for to do it on the
Okay,
podcast.
perfect.
But
Yeah, in that case, definitely keep me
yeah,
abreast, as you said.
I will.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the book club podcast that hopefully won't put you to sleep. We are so happy to be back on YouTube, and we're also available as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. And we are taking literally any recommendations that you have because, like we said, we're done with the SJM territory, and I'm getting back into fantasy for the first time outside of SJM in forever.
Mhm.
So I'm happy to listen to your pitches for any books that you want us to review. And Katie is also available as well in our DMs at Girlies of the Club. And if you guys want to send us an email, which I feel like email's kind of over, but if you do want to, it's theclubgirlies@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.